black already has the initiative after this move. Well, I have to disagree with that. Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with number 128 in the series Viewers Games. If you would like your game to be analyzed on Chess to Impress, then you can send it to me by email to classroomchess64@gmail.com. It is the turn of Radu from Romania. And Radu writes, "Here you go, Rick, I finally have a game that's worth analyzing, I think. I play constantly with a colleague from work on chess.com, 1 day per move, and each one plays whenever they find the time. In this game I was white and he was black. Our ratings on chess.com don't really matter as we don't play often enough, but I think we are both around category 2 or 1 level, which is around 1800 FIDE rating. Definitely past category 3, but far from candidate master level. You will see if I'm right when you ask the engine. I'm sure there are mistakes, but I doubt you will find any blunders. Your overall evaluation of the game would be very appreciated. I think we both played really hard, and apart from a few mistakes, we both played correctly. I've added a few comments on my side. If you think they are worth mentioning, thank you for the great videos. It is very relaxing and at the same time educational to watch your videos. All the best," says Radu. And Radu was white in this game indeed and opened with the e-pawn. His opponent played the French, d4, d5, and here Radu says, "I like the French a lot when playing with black. I even play 1 e6, even when white plays 1 d4. But I also welcome it with white." He likes to play the French with both colors. Knight d2, knight f6, that knight gets kicked back to d7, and f4 from Radu. Bishop d3 is the most popular move in this position, according to theory, and f4, the move played in the game, is the second most popular option. c5, and Radu says that black already has the initiative after this move. Well, I have to disagree with that. Black is always a move behind, so if white plays mainline theory, then it's up to black to equalize, and I don't think it's correct to say that black already has the initiative after 5 moves. c3 from white, knight c6, knight df3, queen b6, and here there are many moves in this position. g3 is possible, h4 is possible, a3 is possible, and knight e2 is possible, which was Radu's choice. f6, Radu writes here, "Nothing special so far, been in this position before. Maybe I was too aggressive with the early f4, but it's good because it creates counterplay." f4 was a fine move indeed. In all the Grandmaster games that I've seen in the database, white plays g3 here or a3, keeping the pawn tension in the center. But Radu solves the tension with e takes f6. Knight takes, and here g3 is the best move, but knight g3 was played by Radu, and that is not a very good move, because black now gets a small advantage with this sequence. c takes, knight takes, knight takes, queen takes, and then bishop c5, kicking the queen. Queen a4 check, but that queen is kicked again with bishop d7. Queen went to c2, and now black can get an advantage with knight g4 straight away. As we'll see, black waited with this move for 1 more move. Knight f2 is now a very annoying threat. But black waited with that move. First played bishop e3, not as strong a move. Bishop d3, and now knight g4. Radu writes, "It looks like he's all over me, but it's a double-edged position. My only problem is my king. It's still in the center. A problem I could not solve to the very end. Anyway, bishop d3, which I played, was crucial. I knew I had no chance of castling anymore, but my rook had to go to f1. From then I was sure I had enough counterplay." And indeed, that's why knight g4 immediately was a better move with that bishop still on f1. Radu took on e3, queen takes check, and white cannot try to hang on to the f4 pawn. That will cost him a piece if he plays knight e2 here, interposing and also covering the pawn. Then there is knight f2, hitting the rook in the corner and hitting the bishop on d3 with 2 pieces. Rook f1, knight takes d3 check, black has won a piece. So after queen takes e3 check, you cannot interpose the knight. Radu saw that and interposed the queen, but that cost him the pawn on f4. And a pawn is a pawn. Black is now a pawn up. Rook f1, looking for counterplay, hitting the queen, queen g5, bishop b5, castling queenside from black, rook f7 infiltrating, and knight f6. Radu writes, at this point, the black player thought he was winning. To me it looked it could still go both ways. The position is better for black, he's an extra pawn, and white has to be careful that he will not lose his rook on f7 that is cut off from the rest of his pieces. Very good position for black. White played c4, bishop takes b5, c takes b5, and the king went to b8, away from the open c file. Here Radu played king d1, and that is not a good move. King f1, the other way, followed by king g1, looks better. White has to look after the safety of his king with the queens still on the board. And on d1, the king is too vulnerable. Rook h8, rook c1, that was the point of king d1. The rook is now protected on c1 by the king, attacked by the queen, and that's why Radu went with his king to d1. Rook c8, those rooks were swapped. Queen d2, and here queen g4 check is the best move according to the engine. All black's pieces are better than white's, and on top of that, black has an extra pawn and a safer king. This rook is not doing too much. The queen is fine, the knight is offside, doesn't really have a lot of potential, while black's pieces are all very active. He also has connected passed pawns and, as said, a safer king. Black is winning in this position. But after queen d2, black did not play queen g4 check, he played queen g6, not as strong a move. It's attacking the rook, Radu gave a check, king in the corner, and rook c7, protected by the queen. Those rooks were swapped, and now white is threatening checkmate in one move with queen c8 or queen d8, so the queen hurried back to protect the back rank, but it turned out this move is too passive. Black had a better option, which was queen b1 check, and if the king goes into open space, that is not good. Queen takes b2 check, and the white king will be harassed by black's pieces. After queen b1 check, the best move is to interpose the queen, and then queen d3 check, king e1 and king b8 to deal with a checkmate threat on the back rank, and black's pieces are still dominating the position. But queen e8 was played in this position, and that is too passive. Black has given away all his advantage. He also loses that pawn that he was ahead. Queen takes g7 was played. And just compare the pieces, how they are now with the way they were a few moves ago. White's queen is now very active, attacking the black knight. That knight was very stable on f6, protected by the pawn on g7, but that pawn is now gone, and now the knight is not stable anymore. Knight h5 was played, the knights were swapped, and we have a queen endgame, which is about equal. 5 pawns each. g4, and here black should take on h2. It looks for a second that he has blundered a back rank mate, but after queen g8 check there is still queen b8, and then queen takes e6 with winning chances for white. Black has a few weak pawns, and the white queen is dominating the black queen. After g4, black did not take on h2, which was the best move according to the engine. He went back to e8 with the queen. And now white took on h7. White is an extra pawn in this queen endgame, and this pawn looks very quick. King b8, a4, and a6, and that move also deserves a question mark. Queen f8 was the best move according to the engine. From f8 the queen can display a lot of activity against white's king. But after a6, white should remember the famous saying, passed pawns must be pushed. g5, Grandmaster Sararon would say here, push him baby. This pawn is very dangerous. Great winning chances for white, although queen endgames are endlessly difficult and tricky. It's still a long way to go. But g5 is the best move here. This pawn is really dangerous. But after a6, Radu played queen d3, and that's not as strong. A takes b5, queen takes b5, and we got into a king and pawn endgame this way. King c7 from black. Radu writes here he proposed a draw, and he was probably right, but I decided to play a little further, just in case he'd make a mistake. We've both blundered before. And I think it's very commendable, Radu, to politely reject a draw offer. Let's play this to the end. And it is white who has the chances here. He has the outside pass pawns, while black's pass pawns are in the center of the board. So easier to control by the white king, while the black king is far from the king side. h4, logical move. King d7, the king hurries to the king side. h5, king e7, h6, king f7, g5, b6, king e2 and king g6, and a draw was agreed here. It looks indeed like white will not be able to make progress. When giving this position to the engine thinks white is better, but I let the engine play this against itself, and even though it thinks that white is better all the time, it is not making progress. This very interesting game ended in a draw. And I want to say thank you to Radu for sending me this game so I could share it with the Chess to Impress community. I thought that it was a very entertaining and instructive game, and I really enjoyed analyzing it. Black had some chances after winning a pawn, but then did not play the most active moves, put his queen on a passive square, and Radu took his chance, got back into the game, and even had a better position in the queen endgame. And probably a draw was a fair result. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel, and please leave a comment if you liked this game, if you liked the series. The link to the playlist of the viewer's game is in the description box of this video. Then please share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.